Hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. Having technical difficulties, apparently. All right, let's see. Hold on. We are attempting. There we go. Live on Instagram also. Here we go. Connection. I'm live. Yay! Hello, happy Wednesday. Well, hopefully some of you may pop on. But I do have a great topic for you guys today, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Tonight, I want to focus on talking about plant-based eating, especially for female endurance runners. So I am so excited that you guys are here. If you are going to tune into this, because I think it's a topic that's very personal, and something that I'm very passionate about too. So I really hope that you do enjoy this video. So if you do fall into that category of maybe wanting to go plant-based, or maybe you are a female endurance runner, or maybe you're even just an athlete that wants to go plant-based, that's not quite sure how to do it, or maybe you are a plant-based athlete, but you're really struggling to know if you're getting enough nutrients. So if that sounds like you, then you'll definitely want to tune into this video. So thank you if you are on for joining me. So as I said, I wanted to talk about plant-based eating for endurance runners, especially for females. So there's very specific nutrients that a lot of us are, I shouldn't say a lot of us, but are very common to be deficient in, especially as a female, especially as someone that's eating plant-based, and somebody that is running a lot. So maybe marathon running, really that endurance, long distance kind of running, right? I know a lot of marathon runners put in over 50 miles a week. So they run a lot, right? So eating the proper fuel and putting into your body, what you put into your body is very, very important, right? So with protein, I get asked protein a lot. I get asked about this a lot, and I know a lot of women get really hung up about this, and they're really, not sure what protein to eat, if they're eating enough, because there's so much focus, right, as athletes when you start working out, as runners, to get enough protein. Well, is it possible? Yes, it's definitely possible to get enough protein, and it's probably not as much as you really think it would be. So the recommendation for female endurance runners is 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of protein. And that's a day, but that really depends on your weight, and really, how much running you're doing. So, how many miles you're putting in a week, the intensity, how many days you're running, all that actually really really depends on how much protein you're actually going to need, right? So the higher intensity, the more protein that you should be eating, right? So it could fluctuate a little bit, but at least between that range, you'll be good. So when I figured this out, when I was just doing an example calculation, I figured it out to be for a 150-pound female runner, for running 3 days a week, was about 98 grams, I think 95, 98 grams, I believe, of protein a day. So it's really not as much as you would think. I did do a meal plan for an athlete and calculated his protein needs, and because he was so high in calories and needed so many calories, he was around, I think, 200 something protein. So that could definitely be a lot harder, right, to reach that protein needs on a full plant-based diet, but it's certainly still, I still believe it's still possible. You may need to take, protein shakes and those sort of things, but of course it is still certainly possible to still get protein through your foods And if anyone doesn't know of any high protein plant-based foods, but one example would be chickpeas. So those of you that know me, I eat chickpeas all the time. So chickpeas are very high in protein. So especially anything that's in that legume family is going to be high in protein. So lentils, your beans, black beans, any beans really have high protein. So that's really awesome, right? Hopefully you like beans, but tofu is also a good source of protein. So I do a lot of tofu and chickpeas because chickpeas are just what I prefer, but you certainly can try different beans and see what you like. Now that like this season, it's winter, it's colder, I love my stews and my soups, so sometimes I'll put some beans in soup and kind of just try some different beans and try something a little different than maybe I normally would do. So that's protein. Iron, I also want to talk about because iron is another nutrient that even as females, even without being plant-based or being a runner, is a common nutrient deficiency. I did work at a WIC for a little while when I first became a dietitian. Actually, I think this was before I became a dietitian actually, but I finished my nutrition degree and I worked for WIC, and we had to test a lot. We had to test every mother actually for their iron status. Now, many of them were deficient in iron. So we would do nutrition education on what foods can you eat that are iron. Well, what if you are plant-based? What if you don't eat meat, right? Because you may know from, getting information from others, if you have been low in iron, that a good source of iron is meat, right? Is animal products. Well, yes, that is true. And it's a different type of iron also. So more of it is most likely absorbed. Might not really be that there is more in it, it's just more of it is actually absorbed in your body. So there's heme iron and then there's non-heme iron. And heme iron is what is in animal products and meat, and then your non-heme iron is what is in plants. So for plants, there's the bioavailability is what it's called, is less, which means that you're less likely to absorb all that iron that's in those foods. So what a good tip that I want to share with you guys is to have vitamin C with that food, right? So let's say, for example, spinach. Spinach is a plant-based food that's high in iron. A spinach salad with strawberries would be a perfect example of this because strawberries are high in vitamin C. So your body's going to absorb more of that iron from that spinach. But that said, you may still need a iron supplement. Your iron may still be low. This has been very common for me. I haven't been so low that I've had to go on an iron supplement, but I have had low iron. And sometimes you might not even realize it, but a common side effect is fatigue. And a lot of times there's so many things that could be related to being tired and fatigue, but certainly that could be one of them. So if, you are, shifting more to a plant-based diet, that might be something, and you are female, that may be something you want to get tested. If you are really bad and tired and fatigued, you might be low in iron. Excuse me. So that's iron. And for iron, you do want to eat more than, you do need more iron as a runner. So as a female endurance runner, it's also very important that you get more iron than you might need. Now, I do want to mention too, why are females more commonly to have low iron? Well, we lose more iron because we lose blood, right? Every month, right? We lose blood, which means we are losing iron because iron is found in our blood. Now, men, that doesn't happen, right? They're not really losing blood like women do. So they're not really losing iron. I've even heard from other men say that they like to give blood because that loss of blood actually helps them, that loss of iron, because they actually have sometimes they could have a buildup of too much iron, which isn't good either, right? But most commonly, I feel like for females, we are just common mostly, lacking iron, which isn't good. Especially for runners too, we want to make sure we get iron because that is related to our oxygen pumping or going through our blood, right? And if that's related to our oxygen and our muscles working right to run, we really need to make sure that we have enough iron, right? So especially important, and we do need more than the RDA. So the RDA is the recommendation for the average female, and we need actually 1.8 times that RDA. So almost 2 times as much of an average woman for a female runner. So we definitely need to make sure we are getting enough iron. All right, so that was iron. So I just went over, if you're just tuning in, I went over protein and I went over iron for a female endurance runner that is plant-based. So my next nutrient that I want to go over is calcium and vitamin D. Now, with calcium and vitamin D, this is also something that I know too, that it's commonly, and not even just runners or plant-based eaters, but anyone, vitamin D is also a concern, and that's related to calcium, right? And vitamin D is related to, because we get most of our vitamin D from the sun. So in the northern hemisphere, most of us, I think 8 months or more of the year, right? It's cloudy, it's cold, we're really not getting outside, and we're not getting sunshine. So we're really not getting a lot of vitamin D. And now with calcium, so vitamin D and calcium are very much related. There's also a lot of the same foods too, but it's related because vitamin D really helps that absorption of calcium. So they're really both important. So with calcium, right, it's important for your bones. So it's definitely important for runners, right, because it's a lot of pounding on your joints. And those of you that know running, right, that is something that some people decide that, you know, this is not my thing. I can't do this. It's just too much pounding on my joints, right? And that's why it's important, though, that you're getting enough calcium and vitamin D, right, for your bones. So with calcium, a lot of people don't know, or I know a lot of people don't know that they think they can just get calcium from animal products or just from dairy, right? We mostly think of getting calcium from dairy, right? Because that is what we were told when we were younger. And that is very true. That's not wrong. But you certainly can still get calcium from plant-based foods. So one that sticks out to me has always been broccoli. So broccoli actually has high calcium. So you can definitely get some calcium from your broccoli, which is pretty cool. So there's that. Anything else on calcium and vitamin D? I think that was it. Almonds also have calcium, and beans also have calcium. And the recommendation is about 1,000 milligrams a day. So when I created a meal plan and I just did like a sample meal plan to try to figure this out, it is possible. It's certainly possible to meet that 1,000 milligrams. It's really not as much as you would think it is. But if you are eating, you know, making sure you get those plant-based foods that are high in calcium into your diet. I do a lot of almonds. I do almond milk. I do broccoli, do a lot of beans. So I'm eating a lot of those foods. So I'm getting calcium, not even realizing that I actually have been getting calcium. So that's calcium. The other thing I wanted to talk about was hydration. So with hydration, this is something that I know I definitely need to work on. I'm terrible at drinking water. You can even see my lips are a little bit chapped, they're red, they're dry, my skin is dry because I did not drink enough water today. And I know I didn't, and I know a lot of times it's related to running because I ran 6 miles this morning and then I don't drink. I'm also starting to get a headache. So my skin will dry out, my lips will dry out, and I will start to get a headache. But this is especially important for anybody, right? At least getting that 8 cups or half to 1 ounce per pound of body weight, right? Or is it pound per ounce? Yeah, yeah, ounce per pound of water. So it's really important that in general, we are all drinking water, right? Our body needs water. Our body is 80% or more made up of water. So we definitely need water. But also when you're running, when you're working out, you are losing water through sweat, right? This morning, I was running on the treadmill and I had sweat dripping in my eyes. It was awful. I was glad I had my towel so I could like wipe my towel like on my face to get the sweat out, because that is one thing. I don't mind sweating, but I hate when sweat is in my eyes. It's just the worst thing ever, right? To be on that treadmill and sweat dripping in my eyes. But anyways, you're losing water, right? You're using more than water, but you're losing fluid, right? You're losing fluid from your body. Your body is heating up and your body's trying to cool yourself down. So you are losing fluid, but you're also losing electrolytes. Has anyone ever licked their lips like this? Lick their skin after working out or running? I know after a run, I might not sweat always during the run. This has changed a little bit, but I used to never sweat until I stopped running. But when I sweat, and especially like after a run, I've like licked my lips or licked my skin, and I can taste the salt in my sweat. So I know that I'm losing salt, right, from my body. So that's sodium. You're losing sodium from your body. So that is also what's important. So it's not always just important to replace those fluids that you're losing, especially with running, but also to replace those electrolytes, right? So it's important to do both for hydration, and especially important during races, like during running races. I have gotten myself in trouble running really hot races, being 90 degrees, not having anything to drink, no electrolytes, no water, nothing, and got myself in deep trouble and almost had a heat stroke. So it is a very serious thing. Excuse me. And you might not really think about it until something like that happens, right? Until something like that happens, then you really don't think about it always ahead of time, but it's good to be proactive. Just why I'm always promoting, a plant-based diet, to be proactive. I think it's so important that we are preventing diseases. We are preventing chronic diseases, and we know this stuff. We know there's evidence to back it up and show what is preventive, right? But a lot of times we don't take action until something happens, until we experience something and say, oh, now I got to start paying attention to this. I better start doing that, right? And that's what you don't want to happen, though, because sometimes it could be so life-threatening that you don't have a second chance. So, I just want you guys to really think about that. And then another thing that I wanted to mention, and that is my other point that I wanted to talk about, was carbohydrates. So with carbohydrates, I feel like there's been so much backlash, I feel like, on carbs, and so many things promoting that carbs are bad, that we shouldn't be eating carbs. Well, for me, I've had a very different experience with carbohydrates. So because I've always been a runner, and I know that I need carbs to be able to run, right? Because what carbohydrates do, or carbohydrates, I say this with the kids all the time. They can't say the word, and I go, okay, let's say this out. Carbohydrates. So very hard to say when you're talking fast. So yes, so carbs, we'll just say carbs for short. So carbs, they give you energy, right? They give you fuel. So all the time when I would teach classes, when I teach kids, I would say, what do carbs do? They give you energy. And they all know this because I would always go like this, right? I'd always say this, and they would click on and know energy. Yes, that is exactly right. Carbs give you fuel. Carbs gives you fuel to get through your day. Carbs give you fuel to think, to use your brain. We need carbs, right? So I'm a very big proponent of carbs, but it's also because I'm a runner and I know that I need those carbs or my body isn't going to be able to run. Because hitting that wall is not fun. I don't know if I've ever experienced this in an endurance run, but I have experienced it in a sprint. So I did do track for a short time in high school and I ran the 400 meter and I felt like I was hitting the wall. I think it had a lot more to do with the lactic acid that was building up into my muscles. But I remember right at the end of that race, the lactic acid would build up in my muscles, in my calves, and I felt like I couldn't even take another step. And it was always right at the end. And I believe that's really what hitting the wall is really like, and that's what you don't want to do, right? But there's also a myth too on carbohydrate loading. So if you are a runner, you might understand this where I'm coming from, but there's always been this with carbs that saying that you need to eat carbs like the meal, like a meal right before your race, right? And load up on those carbs. Well, the thing is that that's really where the myth is. Not that you shouldn't carb load, because you should. You need those carbs before you run, right? To give yourself that energy. But it's actually recommended that you start a couple days before that run. So starting a couple days and kind of upping your carbs, knowing that you have this big race coming up. That is what makes more sense. And I think it also makes more sense too, as in not stuffing yourself with so many carbs, because I think in general, what happens is that we're not burning up those carbs. And that's what's really happening. Those carbs aren't getting used in your body. So that's why those carbs are turning into fat and they're just sitting, right? Because they're not being used. You're not using up all that energy during your day. So there's really just an imbalance. So we really just need a balance on how many carbs we need. And also our bodies use carbs differently. I know even though I need carbs, my body does not efficiently use those carbs. So for me, running has always been so important to me too, because it has helped me maintain my weight. And I know that because I've gone on and off with running. I've trained for marathons and then I'm like in not training mode, so I'm not running as much. And I know like there's a shift in my weight and it's never like huge, but there's always a little bit of a shift, right? Where I'm feeling like, why do I feel like I'm gaining weight? Or why do I feel like I could gain weight so easily? Because I'm not running as much. This is awful. But I know it's not that the carbs are bad, right? But it's just, there's a balance that we need to find. So that is my little take on carbs. And Brandy, you bring up a really good point. I'm so glad you mentioned it. So you struggle with healthy carbs. Yeah, so that's a good question. If bananas are good, and unsure if brown rice. So brown rice, yes. So brown rice and bananas would both be. Bananas actually don't know if they are complex carb. We'll have to look on that. They might not be. So your healthy carbs, I think, are really referring to are those complex carbs, right? So there's complex carbs and there's simple carbs. So your simple carbs are the processed carbs, right? So your white, anything that's white, right? So your white bread, your white rice, sugar, right? Anything like that is simple carbs. So those are, oops, my phone died on Instagram. So that's okay. I've got cut off on Instagram. So I will just talk to you guys on Facebook here. So anyways, so yes, there's a difference, right? There's simple carbs and there's healthy carbs. So your simple carbs are those processed white carbs, right? And then your complex carbs are your whole grains that you might consider. So brown rice would be one. Yes, quinoa is one. What else is a complex carb? So anything that's really whole grain, right, is your complex carb. So that's why you want to get more of those complex carbs. Excuse me. So even for runners, it's better to get our carbs from brown rice, quinoa, instead of filling up on all that pasta, because it's really too much. It's even too much pasta, too much carbs for even runner. So yes, so whole grains, pasta, and bread. Yes, whole grains, yep, whole wheat pasta would be good, and whole wheat bread. As long as it's whole wheat, it would be complex, but it's still important for a balance, right? It's still don't go and, oh, these are complex carbs, I can have a lot of these, but you're not gonna really do anything or exercise more than you normally do, right? Wouldn't it be good either, because you're gonna store those carbs, right? And you don't want that to happen. In most cases, not always. I have been on the other spectrum too, where I was losing way too much weight and needed to find that balance. So you might struggle either way. So let's see, was there any other points that I wanted to make? I think that was all my points. Oh, no, there was one more. So energy. So energy, getting, and I was just kind of talking about that, but getting enough, eating enough calories is also very important for runners. And I find this to be common too also in female endurance runners, that we don't eat enough food because, you know, we might have body image issues. We might, you know, struggle with confidence and related to our body image, right? That we may not want to eat a lot of carbs. We might want to go, like, I know when I was younger, you know, low carb diets were very popular, and if I had gone on a diet, I probably would have gone on a low carb diet, right? Because everyone else was doing that, but that would have been not really good for me because I was a runner, so that wouldn't have been good for me to do, right? But would have been very well, could have. So I think it's really important to bring up the point to eat enough calories and get enough energy is very important too, because you are burning a lot of calories, especially when you get up into high mileage with running. And I know some people, you know, might just be starting out and maybe you're just running 5Ks. So really don't get too hung up on nutrition and like, should I be eating a lot more carbs? You know, it really depends too on where you are in your running journey too, because it might really, nutrition might not really matter when you're first getting started, but it certainly can help, and it certainly is related, and it's certainly, like, if you're looking for weight loss and want to run, you might be trying to figure out, well, is that a good way for weight loss? Like, how do I do it to run? Because I want to be healthy, because, you know, I really want to run for health and wellness, but I do have a few pounds to lose. Well, that's a very good question, and nutrition can very much play a big role in that, to how you can do that, because I do believe it's possible, but I also do know some people that do not always, or might not really know, right? Sorry guys, just looking at the comments here. Yeah, so I think hopefully I answered whole wheat pasta, yes. Yeah, okay. Just making sure I answered all your questions. I love it. Yay! All right, so I think that was everything. I feel like that was a lot of information. Wow. So that might be a little overload for some of you. So if that was a little bit of an overload, or you're like, Kayla, like, I really want more information. You know a lot. Like, I really need help, anything, you know, you can reach out to me, message me on Facebook, message me on Instagram. And I also have an ebook coming out very, very soon. So if you are interested in that ebook, which I'll just tell you what that is, what does that entail? So what that is a meal idea plan. They're basically recipes, but very easy meals, so I kind of call them meal ideas. So they're recipes, but they're really not like complex recipes. They're very easy, simple kind of recipes, and not a lot of ingredients. They're all plant-based, and they're especially, you know, for female endurance runners, because they have those nutrients, right, that I just explained. So if you are looking for something and you're thinking, wait, Kayla, like, how do I get all this? I know that I need all these nutrients, but I don't know what foods I should be eating, or I don't know the recommendations. Well, this ebook might help. So if you are interested, please let me know. I do have a link if you are on Instagram. I do have a link on my Instagram bio. So in my bio, if you go to my Linktree link, the first link there, you can click on that, fill out that form, leave your email, and I will get you into that. What will happen is I will get you into an email sequence, and you will get that ebook in your email on Monday. So if you would like to receive that, then please let me know. So you will be getting a couple emails with that ebook to really explain more of the information that I just explained, really break it down into more foods, break it down into examples of how can you figure out what's the recommendation for me, that kind of thing. So I hope that will be super helpful along with the ebook with all these awesome plant-based meals that have been some of my favorite plant-based meals that have gotten me through my runs and my training. So I'm super excited about this. I hope you guys will love it. Like I said, if you are interested, can always let me know too, just by messaging me and letting me know your email. That's fine too. And I think that's it. So I'm super excited to get this out. Like I said, it will be going out by this Monday, so it should be almost ready to get out. So if you are really interested in it, please let me know so you can gain early access to my ebook. I cannot wait for you guys to see this. I hope that it is helpful, and I hope that it does reach the right people. That's really, will really help. But, even if you're not a runner, I certainly think a lot of these nutrients, especially as females, are very important, whether you're plant-based or a runner or not, are important nutrients to remember. Oh, you're welcome, Randy. Yes, definitely run low. Yay! I'm excited too. All right. Yay! All right, cool. So let me know if you guys have any questions. As I said, make sure to go to that link so you can sign up if you are interested in my ebook, so you can definitely get it on Monday. Yay! All right. So everyone have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you guys all soon. Bye.